Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. The Sears here at the Paddock Mall is empty. It's completely empty, Robin.
Yes, it is.
And during the holiday season, I bought things that I could have bought at Sears, but I bought them online. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I contributed to the problem, but maybe I did, right? And I'm not really so sure that I understand all of the things that are happening, economically speaking, in our world, in our country, maybe, just to not make it the whole world, but it is the whole world. I mean, I remember I bought something online, and it turned out it was sent to us directly from Japan. And I don't know that that's unusual anymore. I just don't know. But we have somebody on the phone who has studied this and looks at this in great depth in his book. The book is called Globalism versus Nativism. And when I first saw the title, I really didn't understand the depth that this book looks at these things. So I want to make sure that I don't lead you the wrong way, because I think the book has more to it than what the title might make you think. Dr. Alexandra Munz-Rubiol is on the phone, and forgive me if I mispronounced your name, Doctor. He is a professor of OBS Business School, an author, and a consultant. Globalism versus Nativism, How to Bridge the Digital Divide. Let's say good morning, Dr. Rubiol. Good morning, sir. It's an honor to have you on our show.
Likewise, Mr. Whitler. It is my honor to be on your show.
And where are you? Where are you calling from?
Well, I'm technically calling from Maryland, but about a mile from Washington, D.C., so I do kind of live in the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay, so you got snow right now, don't you?
Yes, we do, but we have recovered.
So when I first saw the title, I wasn't sure if it was going to be something along this line, and I know now that it's not, but maybe there's something that I'm going to say that you can respond to. I live in Florida. I grew up in New York. A real simple example would be grits. You can get grits down here. You really can't get it in New York City anywhere, okay? But you can get bagels in Florida now, and when I first moved here, you couldn't. So I was thinking along the lines of things or ways of life that seem to have crossed the line nowadays, and others that haven't. But this goes way beyond that. This has to do with maybe more of what I was talking about in the intro, with buying online instead of going to Sears.
Well, yes, with reference to your book, and one of the things I do kind of take pride in is in being a very ethical person and not trying to create headlines. You know, a lot of people want to now scare us into the slowdown in the economy. We're going to have a recession. A recession is two consecutive quarters of negative growth, and we're not even close to that. The U.S. economy grew up practically 3% last year, right? So I'm always one to maybe I shouldn't do it, but I'm one that doesn't like to just scare and people. But I do want to ask you, because I didn't have the chance to ask you, because we're all purchasing, a lot of goods through major corporations. So I certainly don't want to criticize any corporation, but do you usually discuss companies as I try to explain the situation we have, a certain clash between globalism and nativism in many countries, not just in the United States.
Okay.
So, for example, if I tell you that I self-published on Amazon and mention other companies, that is.
Oh yeah,
okay.
No, that's absolutely okay. Yeah, I want you to do that because in order for us to serve our audience, I want them to know that the person we're speaking to has more information than we're ever going to get to in this conversation, and I want them to be able to get that information, and that's always through. And usually it's through an internet website like an Amazon or something of that sort. So yes, we can mention your website and mention Amazon and mention the title of your book, of course. So if we were to look at the past versus now with our economy, it seems like at one time we didn't have a whole lot of pushback against what we call capitalism, and now we have a pushback, and I don't know why, because it seems to me that that's always the driving force behind everything. For example, with Bernie Sanders, he's got socialist ideas that he would like to see incorporated into our life. And yet, in order to pay for socialist ideas, we have to have the private sector making the money that pays the taxes that pays for those social things. Argue with me or agree with me. What do you think about that, what I just said?
Well, I would say, firstly, kind of summarizing, there is a pushback against capitalism, but not in the United States of America. There's a pushback against capitalism in France with this yellow vest movement, especially of the lower classes and some of the middle classes. And even in the yellow vest, it's a worrying phenomenon. It's spreading also to Belgium. There are now protests in the UK, which, of course, today is a very important day in the UK because the Brexit agreement that Prime Minister May submitting to Parliament will be rejected by her own members of Parliament. But I would say in the United States there's not a pushback against capitalism. What I would say is that globally the U.S. economy has been growing. People forget the U.S. economy has been emerged from recession in 2009. So it's almost 10 years of economic growth. We have, unemployment is at a 40-year low. Blacks, Hispanics, whites, across the board.
Right.
We grew 2.9% at the end of last year. Certainly the macroeconomic situation in the U.S. is very good and very solid, and that of most major developed economies. What I would say is that globally we have something that I tried to address in my book is long-term, a division, a digital, which can lead to an economic division between those who have the right degrees. The people that have the right degrees, especially in STEM, science, technology, engineering, management, who have or don't have those degrees, university degrees, but have the skills to be successful in the digital economy, to make a good living. Those people tend to be not hostile to trade, not hostile to immigration, accept the technology. And then we have people who are nativists, and we have to understand why the nativists tend to be people who live in the countryside, smaller towns. They don't have those degrees that are necessary to compete in the digital economy, STEM, or they don't have the necessary skills. You don't have to have a university degree. You can just have the skills. And these people tend to become hostile to trade, tend to become hostile to immigration, and are simply scared. And they're thinking, where's my son going to work? You used to be able to start working in a factory, even in Florida, or in Ohio or Michigan at age 18, retire at 55 with good benefits, good pensions. And now with artificial intelligence, robots, technology, this is not just in the blue collar factory manufacturing sector, but increasingly, as my book addresses, increasingly also in the sector with blue collar, also with white collar jobs, also in the services sector, jobs are going to be destroyed. We're going to have self-driving cars, self-driving, intelligent homes, and all of that is something that society needs to address. When I mean society, I mean the media. I mean the media, and you're doing that. I mean, the government. I mean NGOs, civil society, and also international institutions.
And with technology, it's making the world smaller. And if I have a problem with my phone bill or my internet and I call this number, I might get somebody that's living in India helping me with the problem and not within my own state of Florida.
That is correct. And, with all due respect to India, sometimes these call centers can be a bit aggravating, and they take a long time. But maybe that's I wouldn't want to be perceived as attacking India. So maybe I'll just stay away from that.
Yeah, the one thing I wish they would understand is that their accent is not our accent, and I'm not trying to say one is right and one is wrong, but it's such a difference. I think it's almost like a separate language. So if the person on the phone could learn to alter their accent a little bit, I mean, they're sweet people and they're really knowledgeable people, but sometimes the accent gets in the way. That's my only statement about that, and I think everything would work out okay. But do you agree with that part of what I just said, that everything would work out okay? Because again, some money is being earned by somebody over in India that could be earned by somebody here in Florida.
Correct, and I think this is a serious discussion. And remember, we had I'm always like to be positive. We had a very strong job report in December. 312,000 jobs were created in the United States. And yes, the stock market's down this year 5%, but it's way down much. It decreased much more in Europe and certainly in China. The stock market index in China was down 33%. One of them, the other one was 25%.
Wow.
So we still have a very strong economy in the United States. But one thing that surprises me about the president, one of his advisors or any of his advisors, not saying Well, maybe some of these jobs, as you say, Mr. Whitler, all of these, call centers or people who are calling from other countries but speak English, for most of them, English is not their native language. And, the nuances of helping somebody with the time zones in the United States of America, different time zones, the nuances. Imagine if you're trying to book a hotel, in Maine and you don't have a secretary and you're calling somebody in India or in, say, in the Philippines. With all my respect to the people of the Philippines, I mean, I love them, and people of India. I'm surprised that President Trump hasn't said, well, maybe some of these call center jobs should be, repatriated to the United States,
Okay,
because sometimes it does get a little bit frustrating to be with people who, you say, are kind and are nice, but they don't get all the nuances of living in the United States of America, and they shouldn't have to know those nuances.
All right, but let's talk about that just for a second, because if I own a company that needs a call center in order to help my customers, and I'm going to pay the people in that call center, then there's an expense for me, and that's why they're in India. I don't think the government has anything to do with it. I don't think the president or Congress says, okay, Apple, you're going to have to put your call center in India. I think Apple says we're going to put our call center in India because it's cheaper. And maybe that's part of the problem, is that to have a call center here in Florida, which we have one, by the way, in our town, and I'm not so sure the economics of it, but ultimately, when we think we want something done and we say the government should do it, that flies in the very face of what capitalism is about.
Yes, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But some multilateral corporations and some tech companies are extremely big. I mean, what my concern is that populists or nativists, it depends on whether you want to use the word populist or nativist, people who vote for populist or nativist politicians and are doing so, in many parts of the world. Look what just happened, in Brazil with the new president. We'll see how he turns out. But we have a populist president of Mexico. We have these very violent protests in France and also spreading to Belgium. So I am worried about that. But people who vote for politicians, let's say, of a populist nativist nature, they are told pretty much in 20 seconds that immigrants take their jobs, depress their wages, that they commit more crimes, that they abuse the welfare state and bring in their entire families, and if they're Muslims, they're a threat to national security. Now, Mr. Whitler, how long did it take me to say that? 20 seconds, right? And that is just factually and statistically completely wrong. The vast majority of immigrants in developed countries, work hard, not take that many jobs from native people. They don't commit crimes. Actually, native people commit more crimes than immigrants, and they don't abuse the welfare state. We can argue a little bit at the margins, but generally, and they're not a threat to national security. But the problem is that the world is very complex. And so, just like in ancient Greece, there were myths and so forth, populists give people who are afraid of this world with so many complexities and threats and terrorism and climate change and acceleration of technology. And these people say, oh, where are my jobs going to be? So obviously you're highly opinionated and you're highly informed, but people who, don't have that kind of access to information, unfortunately, they just go for that message because it's appealing.
Well, here's my thought on part of it. I kind of have so many different directions I could go, but I want to go in this one direction. The direction I want to go in is to the person who looks at the immigration problem or the immigration, I don't know if it's a problem, but they look at immigration as a problem. How about that? And they say, I'm never going to get a good job because, and they blame immigration, or they blame their age, or they blame their race, or they blame their sex, whatever they're blaming. Whenever we do that to ourselves, we give ourselves an excuse for not being successful. And that's the problem I think is happening. If I have an 18-year-old son, which I don't, my son is 33, thank goodness he went through all those years, but at 18, you're at that crossroad moment. If you believe the press and you say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm never going to succeed because I am, fill in the label, then we have done a disservice to that 18-year-old by making him or her believe that in America, you don't have an opportunity to be successful because of who you are. The truth is, there are successful people in this world who have every label. There are men and women. There are blacks and whites. There are Muslims and Christians and Jews and atheists all in the upper levels. And so none of those labels will hold you down unless you believe they will.
I completely agree, if I may call you Larry. I completely agree. I think that myself, I'm 49, and I've been a professor 21 years. But the last 2 years, I'm teaching courses online. And I had to learn how to use the Blackboard platform to teach courses online. Yeah. And I love technology. I use machines to do the self-checkout when I buy my groceries. I'm on social media. I love technology, and it's something that makes our lives easier. I'm not a Luddite by any means.
Yeah.
But President Obama did say in his last State of the Union that we have to have a debate in society. And again, I insist, society meaning media. People, ordinary people, companies, NGOs, civil society, and international institutions, and regulators. We need to have a debate because, for example, right now there are 26 billion devices already connected to the Internet of Things, right? This is the fifth, 5G, the new generation of mobile telephony and Internet will be 5G. We already have 26 billion devices connected to the Internet of Things, right? And with 5G, the forecast is that in 2025, which is not that far away, there will be 75 billion devices around the world connected to the Internet of Things.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I always believe in, if I have a challenge, I try to face it. I try to become better.
Absolutely.
I try to learn new technology.
Sure.
But we also have to understand that not everybody has the economic means. Not everybody has, unfortunately, let me put it politely, not everybody has the economic or intellectual capacity to become an engineer and a scientist. So I think that or a mathematician. So I think that society has to come up, and that's what my book humbly tries to do, with the contributions by 30 professors from the top 20 economies in the world, and from people from chambers of commerce, vice presidents of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and professors from the top 20 economies in the world, is give ideas to policymakers so that these people who feel they're being left behind.
Gotcha.
But specific ideas, not just to say, okay, there's a digital divide, which may lead to an economic divide. Because, for example, I worry, and look, I'm very capitalist, absolutely, but I worry when we're talking about these intelligent homes and self-driving cars. Sometimes I worry, will that be possible just for the rich and the upper middle classes to have these intelligent homes, where the refrigerator orders the food and everything's connected to the Internet of Things? Will that just be accessible for the rich and upper middle classes and those who work for tech companies, or will that also be accessible for everybody?
All right. Now, I like that. Yeah, now I get it. Now I get it better. I think, that is kind of a worry. I mean, I would hate for that to be. I would hate for there to be a divide so that the haves and the have-nots are even more separated than they already are. So does the book give us ideas on how we can prevent that from happening?
Well, that's the aim of the book. That is that is the purpose of the book, is how to bridge this digital divide, which can become an economic divide. And inequality has increased, unfortunately. The U.S. is still a country where inequality is not that high, but inequality has increased. And so I think we very much have to understand the concerns and the fears of people who are voting for populists, because they think, what is my son going to do? What is my daughter going to do? We have factories in Germany where robots are basically making machines. There's a hotel in Japan where it's fully staffed by robots. Of course, at this point, we're not there yet, but give it another 5 or 10 years, and I fear that right now, of course, we have full employment in America. There's no unemployment in the United States, and the economy is growing, at 2.9% rate last year, GDP. But in 5 or 7 years, and with the end of the business cycle, we're going to have to explain to people, well, there are already, let me give you some numbers if you want, there are already 8.6 million robots around the world. 7.3 million are used in the service
interesting.
sector.
All right. So, let's try to figure out. Give us some of the ideas that you present in the book as far as a way to make sure that the divide isn't so great, so that the lower income people will be able to live. In the 50s, the lower income people did pretty good. They were living in Levittown. It wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was the lower income, but was considered middle class. Is that going to go away? And how can we change that from going away if it if it indeed is heading in that direction?
I will, of course, give you the ideas that I have put forth to the professors and very renowned professionals who have contributed the second half of my book.
Right.
I do hope, Mr. Whittle, you will encourage your people who are listening to your show to buy my book, which is also available as an ebook, I must say, for only $2.99, if I can put in my pitch, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I self-published with Amazon. So some of the ideas are obvious. More training, lifelong training. So we're going to have to reinvent ourselves. I know this venture capitalist in Silicon Valley. He's a PhD, in engineering. He's a venture capitalist. We're going to have to continue to reinvent ourselves. Even when my golden retriever is barking, I have to make my golden retriever not bark.
I think he's wonderful. We love dogs.
he is. I'll tell you, but he would. Anyway, so we have lifelong training. Lifelong training is very important. Okay. And also, we're going to have Elon Musk and Bill Gates are on the record as saying that they rule out a tax or some kind of levy on robots. After all, if you replace, it's very obvious that CEOs and people who are very rich and people who make big decisions at companies, it's in their interest to replace people with machines because machines do not take holidays. They do not get sick. They don't take parental leave. They don't have to be insured. So there's an incentive for corporations to replace employees with machines, right?
I hear you, yeah. I think you're right.
Right now I'm kind of concerned that the rich and look, and I'm a capitalist. I'm as capitalist as they come, but I also believe in making capitalism more ethical and more social. And there's a concern on my part that maybe right now the middle classes, and I'm included in that, we're enjoying ourselves. We're working hard, enjoying ourselves, watching football. By the way, we have no East Coast team left, right? Except the New England Patriots.
Yeah,
right? I'm sorry about the Dolphins this year, but everything's going west, right? Everything's going west. This year is not very good for East Coast teams. But anyway, so the middle classes are working hard, like they do in America. But they're also enjoying themselves, right? And the people who are not as fortunate as we are, who work at the, I can say it, right, 7-Elevens, or, they're kind of happy that they don't have to deal with as many people because they have apps. And everybody's telling you, oh, well, manage this on your app, or you go to the internet. But maybe these people do not realize that those jobs that they're happy to be able to go home a bit sooner because they can tell people, oh, if you go online, and pay for your gas, whatever, at whatever gas station, if you do it online, you get a discount. Those people who are there at the cash register, they may be happy that they have the app and the website so that they have fewer customers and can go home sooner, but they may not be realizing that in a few years, they're destroying their own job.
No, you're right. You're right. I wish I could argue with you, but I'm hearing you. I now have a better understanding of what the book is about, and I think you have hit on something. And not only have you hit on it, but you've invited some people who've really thought about this to be all represented in the book. Your book is doing pretty good. I was just looking at it on Amazon, and there are millions of books on Amazon, and yours, 610 is not bad when you consider there are millions of competition. So that's pretty good. Okay, and you're getting 5-star reviews. I see that. So, okay, I'm going to recommend if you were listening to what Dr. Rubiol was saying, and if you're like me, and the more he spoke, the more you understood what he was saying, got it. You got his point.
I got it. He's wonderful.
I get it, and I think you're absolutely right. And I love the ethical part of what you are trying to say. That is outstanding. Let me
say one thing.
Go ahead.
So let me just one thing. If I just have one last idea to say, it is that I always look at it, and I don't want you to think that I don't agree with everything the president is doing by any stretch of the imagination. But the trade war, which is on pause now with China, it's on pause, right? And the markets expect that there will be not an escalation of the trade war. There was the pause in the trade war, the meeting between President Trump and Chinese President December 1st, and now until March 1st. We don't expect a full-blown trade war, but we also don't expect a big agreement that China is going to cave in. China is not going to cave in on intellectual property, on these forced technology transfers. And there's a document which is called Made in China 2025, where the Communist Party of China, we have to remember, China it's a paradox. It's the second economy in the world, although trailing the U.S. by a lot, okay? GDP in the U.S. is 18 trillion, and China's GDP is 11 trillion. So those people are saying, oh, China's going to overtake us, and China's economy is slowing down so much. It's going to grow 6% this year. 2010 it was growing 10%. But anyway, the Communist Party of China, they had a document 3 years ago called Made in China 2025, where they outline 10 sectors where they want to be competing with the United States and obviously with the Western countries, European Union countries, Germany, and so forth, in 10 key technology sectors that range from robotics, IT, telecommunications, smart, electric vehicles. And because right now the Chinese economy has become great at producing toys and exporting toys and clothes and shoes and consumer electronics, but they're not yet at the cutting edge when it comes to robots and IT and telecommunications and maritime engineering and electric vehicles. So some of the bans on Chinese companies purchasing not just American, but also Western companies, they were already started under President Obama. So what I would say is that we have to make sure that the current generation of Americans who are in their 40s or below, that they will work, that they will get degrees in those areas that I just outlined, IT, telecommunications, green technologies, electric vehicles, so that they will be able to compete with China, because China is not catching up with us yet, but give it a few years and they might.
Dr. Rubio, I love your message. I hope somebody invites you to address Congress, and I hope somehow you are able to get this message to the president. I truly think that you've hit on something that they all need to be paying attention to. This is more important than any wall. I don't understand. This is where we should be talking, not about a wall. This whole thing drives me nuts. And maybe you disagree. I don't know. But, Doctor, thank you for taking time to be with us. Really, really great information. Globalism versus Nativism is the title of the book. How to Bridge the Digital Divide really explains it better than the title. Dr. Alexandra Munz Rubio, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Whitler, and thank you very much for the opportunity, Miss
Robin.
McGuinn.
Yeah,
Robin and Larry, or Mr. Whitler and Miss McGuinn. Thank you so much. It was a very honor to be on your show.
No, it's an honor to have you. Let me tell you something. You've got a message that needs to be heard. Please, everybody listening, call whoever is your congressman. Get Doctor. Would you speak before Congress if you had the opportunity?
Oh, please. I'm just a humble professor and consultant. I do what I can, but I'm very...
I think somebody... your message needs to get out there. Thank you so much for sharing it with us today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and my honor.
You're welcome. We'll share this on the internet. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Hi, I'm Anthony with Finishing Touch Floors. Are you considering covering your old wood floors? Forget about it. Let Finishing Touch Floors restore your old wood floors. We offer sanding, refinishing, installation, and custom colored stains. With over 35 years experience, you need to call 321-396-2657. Let us put the finishing touch on your wood floors. For your free estimate, call 321-396-2657. That's 321-396-2657.
Friends, countrymen, tourists, and Ocalans, lend me your ears. Hey, speaking of ears, there is an opportunity for you to help feed and provide good maintenance, housing, and medical care for Marion County's rescued big cats, bears, monkeys, and other disabled or unreleasable wild and exotic animals. Take a tour on Wednesdays or Saturdays of the Endangered Animal Rescue Sanctuary. Call 352-266-2859. The Endangered Animal Rescue Sanctuary is affectionately known as EARS.
Hello, I'm Mark Sears with Regency Printing. With over 10 years in the printing business, I know you'll find Regency Printing the place for all your local printing needs. Plus, I have fax services, mailbox rentals, notary service, U.S. mail, pack and ship, all at one convenient location, 2375 Northeast 25th Avenue. Just look for the yellow signs. Regency Printing, 789-6683. That's 789-6683. Regency Printing.
AccuSleep offers a safe and effective medical option for those who suffer from sleep disorders of all kinds. AccuSleep makes restoring healthy sleep patterns possible. No medication, no surgery, just good sound sleep. Mend your sleep so you can stop counting sheep. Experience restorative sleep at AccuSleep, the acupuncture sleep clinic in Ocala by calling 352-615-5566.
Veterans Helping Veterans USA. Call 352-433-2320. We help veterans and their families with limited financial assistance, counseling, employment referrals, and a food and clothing bank. You can help in making a huge difference in the veterans' lives we serve by donating food, clothing, household items, or direct financial assistance. All donations are tax deductible. Veterans Helping Veterans USA. 352-433-2320. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America.
Here are today's headlines from The Source, WOCA. 3 small children have died after getting locked in a chest freezer. It was sitting unplugged outside a house near Live Oak, and Suwannee County deputies say the children, ages 1, 4, and 6, climbed inside when the woman watching them went to use the bathroom. She and another adult found the children inside the freezer. They had apparently suffocated. Prosecutors and the State Department of Children and Families are looking into the incident, but right now foul play is not suspected. 6 people arrested in a human trafficking case in St. Petersburg. State Attorney General Ashley Moody was on hand to break the news.
The teenage victim in this case was lured away from his family with promises of a better life. Instead, he was moved into a filthy trailer and used as a sex slave for nearly a year. As a mother, I cannot begin to express how disturbing the facts of this case are to me.
Investigators say the Marion County 17-year-old spent a year as a captive. They say the suspects enticed him through a video game. Florida's new governor says there will be a new policy on the use of medical marijuana. Former Governor Rick Scott went to court to try to prevent patients from using the smokable form of cannabis, but Governor Ron DeSantis says that appears to violate the medical marijuana amendment approved more than 2 years ago.
I think a lot of voters were frustrated that they don't think that it has been. They think there's been a lot of foot dragging, and so my job is to, when the people speak, you have to listen.
DeSantis is dropping hints that he'll end the state's appeal of a court ruling that allows patients to smoke their marijuana and ask the state legislature to pass a new law implementing the medical marijuana amendment. The governor has also announced his pick for the second of 3 open seats on the Florida Supreme Court. He's naming Miami Appeals Court Judge Robert Luck, who insists he's no activist. Luck is the first member of the Jewish faith to be appointed to the High Court since Barbara Pariente in 1997, who's retiring this year. Florida Democrats issued a statement calling on the Republican governor to use his third pick to name an African-American justice. After dropping below $2 a gallon in many parts of Florida, gasoline prices may be on the rise again. AAA Auto Club spokesman Mark Jenkins.
We could see anywhere from 5, maybe 10 cents a gallon increase here in the next week or so. Fingers crossed that doesn't even happen. But, it's just that rising oil prices typically bring some upward pressure on prices at the pump.
For now, the average pump price around Florida is $2.13 a gallon. A new study finds Florida drivers have the 3rd highest car insurance rates in the nation. Insure.com says Florida's annual average premium last year went up by 10% to about $2,000. The report blames a large amount of uninsured drivers and personal injury fraud. Sarasota County State Senator Joe Gruters is the new chair of the Florida Republican Party. The vote happened on Saturday during the state GOP party's annual meeting in Orlando. Gruters says the state's Republican Party is now the party of President Donald Trump and new Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. Gruters won with 88% of the vote over Bob Starr, a former Charlotte County Commissioner. The Star Banner is reporting that former Florida State Representative Kurt Kelly is planning to run again for that position in next year's elections. The seat for District 22 is currently occupied by State Representative Charlie Stone. Stone will be unable to seek re-election in 2020 due to term limits. In addition to Kelly's prior service in the Florida House, he served on the Marion County School Board in the early 2000s. The Star Banner report states that for much of the past decade, Kelly has served as president and CEO CEO of his family business, 3D Background Screening. In recent years, he has focused on the Florida Coalition for Children, a nonprofit that launched in 1999. Kelly has served as the agency's CEO since 2013. Kelly won a special election in June 2007 to capture the state House seat in District 24, which covered most all of Marion County back then. He won re-election in 2008 but did not run again in 2010. Instead, he ran for the U.S. House of Representatives and lost the Republican primary. The numbers are in. More and more people are taking advantage of the Sunrail train system in Central Florida. According to the Florida Department of Transportation, overall ridership from 2017 to 2018 is up by 30%. Part of that growth is being attributed to the opening of 4 Sunrail stations as part of the Phase 2 South expansion. In 2017, Sunrail reported a total of 851,881 riders. In 2018, that number jumped by more than 200,000 riders, with 1,114,859 riders total. Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer serves as vice chair of the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission. He says this 30% increase will only continue to grow as more expansions for Sunrail become reality. No concrete plan has been developed for an airport station at this time. Commission members are still hoping to secure funding for that project. A missing endangered man out of Marion County was found in Nebraska, but investigators are still looking for 2 more people, all connected to a residence in Dunellen, where human remains were found last week in the subdivision of Lake Tropicana. The Marion County Sheriff's Office says 53-year-old Alan Gilbert was found Friday in Omaha, Nebraska. He was declared missing, endangered in Marion County because of concerning statements he had made recently, according to investigators. Gilbert is being held on a warrant for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon out of Marion County. Detectives went to Omaha over the weekend to interview Gilbert. Investigators say Gilbert is a relative of 75-year-old Leighton Underwood and his wife, 69-year-old Donna Underwood, both still reported missing and endangered. They say Gilbert was found with the Underwoods' white VW Golf. The sheriff's office says concerned family members requested deputies visit the Underwoods at their home in Lake Tropicana area last week. When they couldn't reach them, human remains were found on the Underwoods property, and the medical examiner's office is in the process of identifying them. If you have any information regarding this case, you are asked to call the Marion County Detective Aaron Levy at 352-368-3546 or Crime Stoppers at 368-STOP. A New York woman with a rare blood type is donating 2 units to help treat a 2-year-old South Florida girl with cancer. News outlets report the woman had stored her own blood while pregnant in case she needed a transfusion during her delivery. The blood was not needed, and the woman agreed to give it to Zainab Mughal, who has neuroblastoma. Susan Forbes of South Florida-based One Blood says the woman is not eligible to donate more so soon after giving birth. The blood center is seeking more donors for the girl, who lacks a feature common to most types of blood. The donor must be of Pakistani, Indian, or Iranian descent and have type A or type O blood. Emily Nips of Tampa International Airport says that airport opened its food bank for furloughed employees yesterday.
We weren't really sure what to expect. Turns out we did have quite a few people that came. In our first hour and a half that we were open, we had 60 people come through the door, and they represented 187 people total if you add the people and their families.
Several hundred TSA, FAA, and Border Patrol employees are impacted by the government shutdown. Nips says the food bank, which is made possible by Feeding Tampa Bay, the United Way, and private donations, will remain open for the remainder of the week. She says so far the shutdown has not slowed the airport security screening process. It was a doggone good day in Lake County yesterday as officials and volunteers broke ground on a bigger and better animal shelter. The $7.8 million shelter will be able to house hundreds of dogs, cats, and other pets as the agency struggles to maintain a no-kill shelter status while handling overcrowding. The new 31,000-square-foot facility will include a cat porch, a dog viewing area, a meet-and-greet area for pets and potential owners, an education room, a surgery room, isolation area
areas for dogs and cats, and adoption areas. The facility is being built at 12,280 County Road 448 in Tavares, not far from the current shelter on County Road 561. County officials say it should be finished within 1 year. The new Lake County Animal Shelter is being funded with a penny sales tax. And finally, a Maasai giraffe at Disney's Animal Kingdom gave birth to a calf yesterday afternoon, Disney World announced. The giraffe went into labor on the savannah within the